Hello and welcome. So the first semi-official release of Luzid is out, and it is a bit tricky to install this on macOS, and that's why I'm making this video to help you troubleshoot if you run into issues, and just to show how to do this. On Linux, we didn't have quite as much problems. Like, I did actually try this at Mountain Dow and installed this on a few users' machines, and most problems we had on Apple. So there are basically two pieces of Luzid. One is just the app. So this is a file that downloads the app that includes the validator and also the UI and everything. And then we have the CLI piece, which is LZD, kind of short for Luzid. And that one, for the Apple computers, there's one for the ARM architecture and then one for the Intel architecture. So you have to make sure to download the right one here if you want those. But most likely we'll just try to download this one first and see if that works. And that's what we're going to look at first. All right, so what we'll do, we'll go to the assets and we just download this file. And I have it set up to where it will download here into this temp folder, where I will just show how to do the Luzid install. And basically you can put this app anywhere. It doesn't have to be in the applications folder anywhere. You can just put it anywhere on your machine in order to play with it. So now we downloaded this, and now we can unpack it. But before we unpack it, very important, first, to make our lives a lot easier, we run this command. Let me copy that. And this basically tells Mac that this file, even though it's from an unidentified developer and you downloaded it from the internet, that it's fine and you just want to use it. And so if we then unpack it, we can use tar, but we could also just double click on this and it will unpack this. And now we got the app here. We can double click on that. And then we have a validator and Luzid starting up. And now we're going to have to see if the validator actually does start up. And in this case, it doesn't for a while, but now it did. So if in your case, it never starts up, like after, let's say, half a minute or a minute, you never see these numbers ticking, then you should go to the troubleshooting sections, which we'll look at in a second. And the validator ticking is a really good sign. Then most likely everything will work. But in order to really make sure that everything that we need to work works, we do the following test with the sample app. So as you can see, there's a link here that if you click it, it will open the sample app in the browser. And the first thing to do is to try to just fund the main player, which is basically just an airdrop, and make sure that the validator itself is functioning correctly inside Luzid. And we can see we got a transaction here very quickly, and we can see that it worked, right? So that's good. And the next thing to try is to clone the program. Now that requires more features of Luzid to actually be working. And in some cases, I've seen that I think Apple doesn't allow Luzid to access the network to clone this program from DevNet in this case. And if that's your problem, I'm not sure how to solve this. And hopefully in a future version of Luzid, this will become easier. But also you may want to look into the troubleshooting part in order to figure out what's going on. So if this was cloned now, then we know we are good. Now we can go ahead and play the game here and we can play with it. There's another video in the same playlist that this video is in, that shows more what you can do, what these features are, and how to use this simple program. So now we get to the unfortunate case if this just didn't work as well as I just showed you. So let's close Luzid here. In your case, it might not have, even have the validator ticking, or something didn't work. What we can do in that case, we can use, first of all, we need to see if we want to kind of debug. This is probably fine. If you want to even troubleshoot on a, more on a trace level, basically, then you probably want to use this. For now, we're going to use the debug one. So we just copy that and we run that in our terminal. And that will tell Luzid to log a bunch of things. Now, how does it log though? Well, it doesn't log if we just start the app like normal. What we have to do, we have to go into the app, and we go into Luzid App Contents macOS. And what we can see here, there's the executable Luzid, which we can run directly from the command line. So now if we start that, we can see that the Luzid started, right, as normal. And we can also see a bunch of logs here. And we have some errors here. These are not critical, though, but in your case, there might be some really critical errors happening. And one error that I've seen before on at least 2 other machines was this error here. I'm just going to go to this. Basically what you see is going to see something like block store error. I think the question is here. Yeah, you would see something like this in the log. Error, failed to start validator, failed to create ledger. And that's because it's expecting a certain tar to be on the machine. And in that case, you can fix that by installing GNU tar and then making that the tar that is first in your path by doing this, and then trying the same command again. That will fix that issue. And down here, I put again the most important pieces of that answer, so you can just copy and paste that and try that. And that's pretty much it for the app. Next, we're going to look into the CLI piece as well. So let's close. I'm going to close this app now, and we're going to look into the CLI. So now the first question should be, why would you want to use the CLI? Well, you would want to use it if you're running this in continuous integration like GitHub Actions, or if you just want to start it real quick, you don't want the UI at all, and you just basically want to run your tests quickly. Or the other reason might be because you can't get the app to work, right? That at least you can try the CLI. So what you have to do in that case is you download the correct architecture. I'm still on Intel Mac, so I'm going to download this one, and this will take a second. It's also a lot smaller than the Luzid app itself. Well, obviously we have to go up back to where we were, and so now we got here this this tar, and we want to untar it, and let's do it on the command line this time. I'm going to say Z, and now we got this executable here, right? And we can launch that. And since we have logs turned on, which you probably want to do, like in that case, you probably want to always copy this and to get some more information of what Luzid is doing. Unless you don't need that, you can leave that out. But as you can see, we are starting a server here, but we're not really starting a validator. Like for instance, if now I go and let me just refresh this, and I try to fund the player, it won't work because there's actually no validator running. And now I can start the validator via the SDK as well. So Luzid has an SDK, which is actually this repo is the SDK. That would work. But there's an easier way. If you always just want to start the validator by default, you can basically just do this. You can say export this, export validator start, and then we're going to run the same command again. And now you can see that immediately the validator started up. And we can confirm that by trying again to run our transaction. And this time the player was funded. We can also clone the program. So everything still works. There's just, in this case, there's no UI. And so some features obviously are not as available to you. Most features that the UI presents are actually also accessible via the SDK. So you can give that a try. And obviously you should do things like, undo last action like I have here. You should do that from your tests anyways, from a script and not manually in Luzid. And that concludes the video about installing Luzid and hopefully getting running with it. If you have any questions and you run into more issues and you might need help, make sure to go into the Discord. I will put a link here to our Discord channel. And I just want to say finally that this will become much easier as I'm considering in the future to separate the UI piece from the CLI piece. So you will just always run the CLI, which is much easier to get going. And then the UI will just attach to it. And then most likely all these issues that are due to permissions on Mac won't be there anymore. So I hope you enjoyed this and you have fun with Luzid. Give it a try. Thanks for watching.